You didn't hear a peep from him. Like, we're gonna give
Yeah.
him the Ballon d'Or.
They are one of the best teams in Europe right now. Maybe not at the top, but they definitely one of the favorites to win the Champions League.
You have the best player in college basketball, and Cooper Fly that can do freaking everything. So just add a couple pieces around and just make another run.
I mean, 2 years ago they win a championship, obviously still in Jokic's prime, and you fire their head coach.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the From the Stands podcast. We are back on this Friday, April 11th at 9:30 p.m. for episode number 60. We say it all the time. Hard to believe we've gotten this far, but 60 is a big number, man.
It
We're
is, man.
getting up there. We're getting up there. So
Yeah, man.
maybe another 6 months or so we'll be getting the 100 in there at some point. But
Yes, sir.
we have a jam-packed episode for you guys, as we always do, and as we always say. I feel like these intros get pretty redundant on the weekly, but it's okay. We have Final Four recap, a little Auburn Duke, a little Auburn Florida, Houston Duke. Obviously, we will get into the championship game as well. Getting closer and closer to that NBA playoff time as well. We'll get into a little bit of what's going on in the NBA, especially with Luka's comeback to Dallas. And then we'll also get into a little world soccer, bounce around the leagues a little bit. And then we'll get into the Champions League recaps. We had some huge quarterfinal games to get into. And then we'll round it out with a little Masters talk, a little golf. So we've been watching that a little bit the last couple days or so. Don't usually get into the golf too much, but that's a little bit of a preview into what we got going on in this episode. Before we get into it, Fezzy Boy, give us a little bit of an update about what's going on in our neck of the woods here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Welcome back, everybody. Good having you guys. Not a whole lot. We were talking off pod that our lives are pretty boring. We go to work, we come home, take care of business at home, and then do the pod. Usually every Thursday, coming at you on a Friday here, but that's all right.
Second week in a row on a Friday.
Second week, we're not changing. We're just busy. That's the thing. But yeah, nothing really new. I think I was saying I got some family coming in tomorrow. My parents and my younger brother will be here for a week, so that'll be cool. Taking some time off work to go fishing and golfing with them, so that'll be fun. Nice. Other than that, same old, taking care of
How long
Owen.
they here for?
About a week. I think we'll leave
nice.
Thursday, whatever the 18th is. I'm so bad with time. Everything just kind of meshes together these days. So
yeah,
but
I think the 18th is a Friday. So
yeah, other than that, not a whole lot going on.
Yeah, same here. Just kind of working a lot, and coming home. House projects never end at this point, and even though you're getting towards the end, there's still just stuff that pops up all the time.
Always.
Like just stuff that you don't even see. You're like, oh, I got to do that instead of doing whatever I had planned or whatever. So
right.
But yeah, I guess one interesting thing is that for those of you who don't know, I have a 115-pound massive golden retriever
Cute.
that yeah, he keeps our lives interesting for sure. But we recently created an Instagram for him, and so that's been a little bit of a interesting little wrinkle into our lives now. Joy's having a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, man.
And just kind of having an outlet to put him out there for the world to see. It's mainly for our families and friends, but if anybody wants to see cute golden retriever stories and videos on the daily, go follow Golden
what is it?
Bentley.
Yeah,
I think it's Golden Bent. No, it's actually Golden Bentle, because Bentley was taken. So
we're gonna put it down in the description so you guys can follow. But yeah, go blow that up. That'd be pretty cool to see that blow up. He's so cute, man. I love that dog. One of my favorite dogs that I've ever known, for sure.
I saw you post the work thing the other day. I was like, dude, that's actually funny when you're like me at work.
Dude, I saw that. I was like, so relatable. And it's Bentley, and I reposted it so more people can see it and follow it. I was just like, dude, this is the trifecta. Gotta do it. But yeah, he's awesome. He's still in his little puppy phase, a little hyper when he sees people, but it's great. Like, if you want a dog to jump on you, you'd want the dog to be Bentley. It's so crazy.
He's just over a year old now, but he's obviously got the body of he's even bigger than most adult golden retrievers. So he's just a load coming at you all the time. So but yeah, he, like I said, he makes our our lives, a lot more interesting. So
For sure,
it's
for
fun to
sure.
have him. But yeah, without further ado, we'll get into this week's podcast, and we'll start it out with a little Final Four recap here in just a moment.
All right, getting right into it. It's been almost a week now, but the Final Four has come and gone. Two really good games, obviously. Like you guys probably all know, we had all 4 1 seeds. All the 1 seeds made it to the Final Four, which lined up a good slate of games that did not disappoint. We're going to start with the first one that happened: Auburn versus Florida. Florida getting the win over Auburn, 79-73. This game was very, very entertaining because it had really good guard play. It had one of the runner up for National Player of the Year. He had a decent game, but in the end, Auburn did not have enough to get past Florida. What do you think of this game, and who did you have in this game, actually?
Yeah, I love this game. Obviously, I think I mentioned last week as well. I had the Florida Gators winning this one by just a hair, and I was really impressed with them this game. Obviously, Clayton, watching him do it is
So much
special for
fun.
sure. It was, yeah, he was just raining everything. Obviously, 3 point. I think he was like 5 for 7 or something. So he hit most of his 3 pointers. Um, I think towards the end there, like when he went on his little run, I think he hit 2 or 3 in a row there. That
Mm-hmm.
one where he just like he like dribbled into lane, nothing was there. So
Yeah,
he just like dribbled out to the three and he just like took this like stupid like
yeah.
turnaround jump shot. Like that was just an absolute like heat check from him. So obviously he was on fire. He was fun to watch. Um I hadn't watched Florida like a ton, like a full game or anything like that, but I was
Mm-hmm.
massively impressed with their sixth man, Tommy Ho. I don't even know how he pronounces his name, but
Yeah, how good.
I think it's How. But obviously, we'll get into the championship as well. But that was the first game where I was like really impressed with him. Like he does like what you want a six man to do. He can score a little bit. He plays really, really good defense. He's always communicating. I was most impressed with him. Obviously, I'm mostly impressed with Clayton, but having him come off the bench as a spark is huge. I just love the way that guy plays for sure. A little bit sad for Auburn. I like their team a lot. I like obviously Janai Broom and everything. I like the way that he was able to kind of respond to adversity after getting hurt and everything a little bit earlier. So tough for him, but I do like the Florida one. I love the guys that they have going over there. So
Yeah, for sure. I had Florida winning in this game as well. I just didn't have a lot of faith in Auburn. Obviously, they were
yeah,
kind of coming
same.
in like if you looked at it. Well, one, Florida beat them in SEC conference play earlier,
Mhm.
and that was kind of the first time that Florida kind of like burst onto the scene, and everyone was like, because Auburn was ranked number one at the time. I think it was their first loss in conference. And so like that was kind of the day that Florida was like, yeah, we're here, we're for real, we're elite. And then Florida was kind of just trending upwards coming into the tournament, and Auburn was on a downtrend for sure. I think they dropped like it was like 4 out of the last 5 they played coming into the tournament or something like that. So yeah, obviously not doing super well. I thought that Florida had the harder path, so if they got through it, they would be a little more battle tested than Auburn. Obviously, Auburn had to play Michigan State to get to this game, so they weren't a pushover, obviously. But yeah, I had Florida going through, and Walter Clayton, dude, like kind of just like echoing what you said, super fun to watch. I love that
Yeah.
dude. He
I
go ahead.
I was just gonna say I was seeing stuff on Twitter and Instagram afterwards is like this is the reason I'd be a terrible GM because I would take Walter Clayton in the top 5 of the NBA draft,
Dude,
even though he's
facts.
probably not even a first round pick, or maybe he is,
Y-
but definitely not a lottery pick. I don't
Yeah,
think.
definitely not a lottery pick. But I think his game translates the most. I mean, he's quick, he's strong,
Little undersized, but
little
yeah,
undersized, but he can shoot that like he can make up for it. And I mean, I think his comp right now is like Curry, just the way that he gets off these ridiculous shots.
yeah,
He can drive to the lane, has good finishing ability. So he's definitely high on some mock boards, but yeah, definitely
Florida
not a
boy
lottery
too.
pick.
It's fun.
But no, all in all, really, really good game. I was trying to find it. Florida was actually down
Yeah, most of the
um
second half made
most of the
that
second
crazy
half. I
run.
think, yeah, the highest they were down by, it was like 18-24 to go in the second half, obviously really, really early, but they were down 19 points and ended up coming back at the end
Yeah,
to finish off Auburn. But yeah, definitely a good game to watch. I really enjoyed it. But kind of segueing to the next game, this was, in my opinion, the game of the tournament. The game of the tournament. So good. The number one um, offense versus the number one defense in the country going head to head, and it did not disappoint. Houston versus Duke. Houston comes back in like literally the final like 2 minutes to beat Duke 70-67. Obviously, you watched this game. What'd you think, and what was your reaction after?
Yeah, absolutely crazy game. How about halfway through the second half, I was ready to kind of, close up shop. Like,
Yeah, man.
Duke in the championship, baby. We're gonna get to see Cooper Flag another game. I was super hyped for that, but obviously Houston comes storming back. I think Duke just switched off. I think they, being a young team and everything, I think that they might have been thinking what I was thinking and just kind of like, oh, we kind of got this, just kind of like mail it in, kind of not maybe not mail it in, but maybe
Right.
just kind of going through the motions and everything. The last, I don't remember exactly what the time stamp on it was, but they I don't think they had any field goals in the last like what 8 minutes of play,
Yeah.
something crazy like that. Don't quote me on the exact of that, but so obviously they went on a huge scoreless drought, which enabled Houston to come back. I think they made up like something like a 14 point difference there in the last 5 minutes at least there. Duke really going cold from the floor. Cooper Flag had 27 points, super impressive. I said this last pod as well. I love Con Knipple. I think he could be he might be a solid six man in the NBA type guy. I know a lot of people aren't super high on him in the draft. Part of this Duke Blue Devil squad that has a lot of future NBA talent, but I really like his game a lot. I think he could, maybe he stays for another year at Duke, but I could see him, doing some special things in his career as well. But yeah, huge props to Houston. Obviously, their crazy defense is something that they've kind of hung their hats on all year. But I did want to get into the reffing call, at least against Cooper Flag. I know that's you can't avoid it, but what did you think about the over the back there after that free throw?
Yeah, this is I definitely agree it was soft. And in that moment, like you can't call that with how you've called the rest of the game. But this is kind of where I come down on it. I think I was talking with like you and Peter and Jared a little bit about it. The last bit of this game, it showed the lack of experience that Duke had. Like, obviously, they have all these lottery picks on their team, like future NBA guys, where Houston doesn't. Like, they have some NBA guys, but like, definitely not lottery pick. But like, a lot of Houston was like fifth year, sixth year, third year guys. And I
A
think
lot
it
of
just showed itself.
experience, yeah.
So, kind of back to your question, I think the call was weak, but it just shows like Cooper Flag's inexperience in like time and score. You don't need to be reaching for that. Like you guys are up. Like obviously Proctor, and the other thing is if you like rewind into the game, you shouldn't even be in that situation. Like even the free throw, like Proctor hit the free throw, you guys go up. I think 3. Hit the next one, you guys go up 4. He doesn't even have a chance to go to the line to the Roberts doesn't even have a chance to go to the line to tie the game or take the lead. So
Yeah.
just in my mind, like you're not going to get the ball. Like Roberts has him boxed out. No need to reach over.
Yeah.
Still weak call, but I just think like in that situation, you just don't. You just don't reach over. Time and score. Got to think.
Yeah, obviously I agree with the inexperienced part. They probably shouldn't even been there to begin with. I don't fault Flag as much for that because I think the call is a borderline over the back just because I mean he's just trying to reach for. I don't really fault him for competing and like trying to get there. He doesn't do anything that's like, whoa, like what are you doing kind of thing.
Right.
Was it a foul? Yet probably. But the thing that I hate the most about it is like what you said, like how the game was officiated so far. What I hate the most is like obviously Houston was a massive run, and at that point Duke was ahead by one, and that with a foul being committed, 50 feet from the basket, you're letting Houston get the lead, go all the way down to the other side of the court, shoot free throws, and then it's a completely different game from then. So not only
Right.
do I think it was a foul, probably yeah, but like again, do I love that being called there? No. And like that was complete game changer because then Duke's in a position where they have to go down and make a basket and maybe foul, whatever. But I can live with it because Duke did get a chance to go down. Obviously, they had Cooper Flag on a very makeable, like if you can even call it mid range, like inside the free throw line jumper where he could have made it, left it just short. So I'm not gonna cry about all the not having a chance and all that, how it changed the game because they had a shot at the end to possibly pull ahead once again. But yeah, I mean that's tough. I hate the call in that situation, especially just because it directly affects like who's leading, So
Right.
that's the part I hate the most about it. And yeah, maybe it's a little bit of an inexperienced thing for Cooper Flag, but yeah, so I'm really really curious to see if Cooper Flag is going to be back next year because I know a lot of people are like, oh, he's going to be number one, no doubt about it, yada yada. But he said earlier in the year, I remember it because it made news at the time that a lot of people were asking him about the NBA, and he just was like, yeah, maybe we'll see. Like, I love being at Duke, I love being in college and stuff, and obviously you and I talk about this all the time, but in this new age with NIL and everything, like one of the big draws of the professionals is all the money they make, but they're making all the money while they're in school, especially Cooper Flag. You saw him on like 3 different ads during the March Madness
Right.
tournament, three
Yeah.
different ads. No wonder how much he's making buku money at Duke with all their NIL stuff. So like, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that he comes back another year. Most of those guys are, except for Tyrese Proctor or underclassmen, that they'll be able to come back and maybe run it back for another year and be contenders and maybe get a chip. So I
Yeah.
wouldn't count it out. So
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's super interesting. I did actually just before we hopped on, I saw a notification that he still hasn't decided what he's doing. Like obviously there hasn't been any announcement, but like the fact that he's like coming out and kind of saying like he's mulling it over. I could not I want to the word I'm going to use is easily, but that's not quite the word I want to use cuz like, like if you're going to be the number 1 pick, I think you're going to make more money going to the NBA than staying in college, but like again, with Cooper
yeah, I
Flag.
mean obviously, but like I'm saying, the draw isn't as
Right.
strong as maybe it once was because you're getting millions of dollars when you're in
Right.
school.
Exactly. But I just think the way that they went out
Yeah.
would make you want to come back. Like a
Yep.
player of that stature being like, nah, I want to come back. I want to win a championship with Duke. And I think he even has pull like he could look at Malawach and like Knipple and be like, guys, I'm doing this. You
That's
guys
what I'm
stay one
saying,
more year.
bro.
Dude, those dudes as sophomores,
Right.
scary, dude.
Right.
Scary. I
And who
think
knows who they're gonna add?
right, exactly. I think the guard, their point guard from Tulane they picked up was a senior. He's
Sion
gone.
James. Yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna be gone. But like you said, they'll just add in the portal, and if they have those 3 guys there, like and
Mhm.
Proctor, like their core man,
Dude, well, you think
scary.
about it, like you said, the core. Like you have your point guard in Con Knipple who can also hit a shot. You have
Mhm.
your big rim protector who can also finish down low in Malawach. And then you have the best player in college basketball in Cooper Fly that can do freaking everything. So like, just add a couple pieces around and just make another run. So
Right. Yeah, no, I totally agree. And like I said, I could definitely see him coming back, man. Like, and the other thing too, you have to realize is like he's gonna be able to kind of look at the NBA playoffs are coming up here really soon. I don't know when he has to decide he's going into the draft, but like you're gonna kind of
it's
like
like
know
May. It's a little while from now.
like you're gonna know the teams that you'll go to if they win the lottery for you, like, and then you just evaluate like, do I want to go there or do I just run it back with Duke? I have a really good situation here, and like you alluded to, the NIL that he's gonna make, one from Duke, but two from like everybody else. Like, I don't know, man. I could definitely see him running it
I
back.
hope he does. I'd much rather see him come back and play another year at Duke than go play for the Jazz and stink it up in the bottom of the NBA for a
Yeah,
couple
and also
years.
like just break, like he could break the internet by doing that because
Yeah, he's
everyone's
only
like,
18 because he
yeah,
reclassified early. He's still
right. And
stupid
like the
young.
number 1 pick in the draft decides to stay, unheard of, unheard of. It's just like that doesn't happen, and that would just people would be talking about it forever, forever. So I just from that angle as well. But obviously, Duke goes home, Houston wins, which will move us into the championship game that happened last Monday. Obviously, watch that. Florida beating Houston kind of in a comeback dramatic fashion like Houston did to Duke, kind of snatching it there at the end. Because
Yeah.
I really thought Houston was going to win this game. The refing kind of went in their favor. It's how they wanted to play. They wanted to dirty the game up, make Florida have to play dirty. They had a good lead. They were hitting shots, but man, at the end of the game, did just couldn't put the ball in the hoop. Got
Yeah.
really stagnant in Florida. Florida, your national championship. How'd you see this going, and what'd you think?
Yeah, I like how you said it there. Houston got real stagnant in the second half. This game felt like it was a back and forth game just because of the momentum. I felt like, especially in the
Mm-hmm.
second half. But Florida didn't have the lead for more than I think it was a minute and 10 seconds or something like that the whole game. So obviously playing from behind the whole game. Huge credit to those guys for sticking to it. Obviously, the physicality of Houston and the fact that they were down like that's a huge hill to climb when you're getting beat up, on the offensive end and getting shots blocked and all that. I know it's mentally hard to stay in the game and still, keep with it and everything, but
Uh-huh.
huge props to them. Walter Clayton didn't have a great game, but he made some big shots when it mattered, especially late on. But yeah, like you said, Houston was getting a lot of the I wouldn't say calls because they didn't really call much in the first half, but they were letting Houston play exactly how Houston wants to play, really physical, flying around, end to end stuff, and that's when Houston kind of got a decent lead there. And then Florida, I remember we talked about this in the group chat a little bit while the game was going on, but Florida actually came out in the second half and tried to match that, and I felt like the refs weren't really letting Florida, get away with a lot of the stuff that they let Houston get away with in the first half. But then I
Uh-huh.
felt like the refs actually kind of tried to mellow it out a little bit. I know that there was a sequence there where they had like two or three calls against Houston
Mm-hmm.
in a row where they were kind of trying to get control back of the game to, call out both sides, which I thought was good by the referees. Obviously, we give them stick a lot for basically everything. But I thought that was a good, just let's reset. Like this is how we're gonna play. I felt like from then on it was a really well refed game, and it was a great game as far as I'm concerned. So again, Houston, their defense is just crazy. I felt bad for Tugler, him fouling out
Uh-huh.
pretty early, but yeah, obviously they have a crazy good defense. It's fun to watch them fly around, but ultimately Florida's too much, man.
Yeah, I know we had kind of differing opinions on this game. Like, obviously, everyone would have loved to see Florida and Duke, but I loved watching
Yeah.
Houston because I'm a bit of a defense nerd, I guess you would say. I remember we were in the group chat and all you guys were like, "Oh, this game's like this, that, and the other." And I was like, "Dude, I'm sitting here loving it, just
Yeah.
watching." Because again, kind of echoing what you said, Houston wanted this game to be ugly. That's how they play. They
Yeah.
mess up your offense. They don't have the greatest like sets and offense, but they're just super tough on defense. They make you uncomfortable and they shut you down. But like that flipped in the second half, like kind of what you said. It was a little more egregious looking, and I noticed it too. The refs were really, like you were saying, the refs were really trying hard to get a hold of the game again after that first half. They were playing football in the first half for sure. And then Florida probably went in and their coach Todd Golden was probably like, "Man, we just gotta be physical," and it kind of was like worked against them early in the second half. But then once the refs got a hold of the game and calling it evenly both sides, it kind of went against Florida. I think Todd Golden went the into halftime saying like, "Hey, we gotta be more physical," and then they came out in the second half and early on, the refs were calling everything, so it worked against them. But um, yeah, if you told me Walter Clayton was going to go like 0 points in the first half, I would have told you Houston was going to win. And that's exactly how I thought the game was going to go. I didn't think it was going to go like no points, but I was like, if we can hold Walter Clayton to like under 20, we're doing a good job. We're
Yeah.
doing a good job. And obviously that wasn't the case. And so he didn't have a huge game. I think he ended up with like 11 points at the end, but he had like a
Yeah.
huge three near the end, some really,
Huge
really,
three.
really, really good drives and ones, hitting free throws. So just
Yeah.
clutch, man. Super
He
clutch.
was
He's been
and he was still garnering all the attention too, because obviously
yeah,
they knew that he could go off at any moment. So
right.
just the fact that he had all that attention on him helped him play make a little bit as well. Um, I wanted to guys, we come to the end here. I wanted to see what you had to say about some people throwing this out there as one of the best championship runs that we've maybe ever seen for this Florida team. Because if you go back to their conference, obviously they won their conference title as well. Going back to the conference tournament, I'm going to kind of run through some of these dubs here. First one against Missouri, ranked team 21. And then they beat Alabama in the semis and Tennessee in the championship. Those teams were hovering around the top 5 all year. Then obviously beat Norfolk State, defending champs in UConn, not just defending champs, back to back defending champs.
Yeah.
A Maryland team that several team people had in their Elite Eights and going pretty far. They have a good player in Derek Queen, so no slouches there. Texas Tech, a 3 seed, who a lot of people again had going really far. Not that people, necessarily give legitimacy to a team, but obviously they're no slouches with their tournament run they were able to put together. And then 2 back-to-back 1 seeds, Auburn with who most people consider the second best player in the league this year, in Janai Broom. Obviously beat them, and then Houston, best defense in the country as well. Just one after the other, impressive win after impressive win. What do you got to say about some of those allegations here?
Yeah, man. Looking at it now, I'd probably give it to them. Their weakest game was against Norfolk State in the first round. Then
Yeah.
UConn gave them a push. Maryland gave them a push. They were losing with under 4 minutes left. Decided to start fouling Texas Tech. That ended up working out. Beat the number 1 overall seed in Auburn, and then beat the number one seed and number 1 defensive team in Houston, who was playing really well, who beat Duke, which everyone had winning the championship. I mean, if people want to say this is one of the best championship runs, I mean, I'd give it to them. I mean, they played in the best conference the whole year, the SEC, which had 14 teams in the entire tournament. They broke all these records for having so many teams in each of the rounds. And then they ended up winning the whole thing, which gave huge legitimacy to the SEC being crowned the best conference, one or the best conference we've had in NCAA history.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I'm not really sure who the other teams are that they're kind of compared with right now, but just looking, at their body of work and 2 1 seeds and just the several other teams going back to the conference tournament that they've had to beat. It's a pretty good run, one for the ages for sure. But I actually, not to go back to the game, but I just wanted to get your take on one last thing here. Sorry about that, and we can move on. But the very last play for Houston, what did you think of the disaster class that was that last play? Like, they had no idea what they were doing, and then homeboy was gonna shoot, and then he bounced the ball, but he didn't actually, go all the way up or whatever. So he technically could have just grabbed it and shot. It was just chaos.
Yeah, that's a good word to describe what happened. It was just chaos. That was their Achilles heel. I feel like they had a very good offensive team statistically, but they're not the most the best looking offense we've seen. They weren't up there with the Dukes or even the Floridas, obviously, just with the different sets and the coach. I would say they had the coaching edge, but when it comes to new age offense and analytics and all this, definitely Todd Golden had that over Kelvin Sampson for sure. Florida again just did what Houston does to other teams. They broke up the play they were going to run. I think they were running a play for LJ Cryer that wasn't really meant for Emmanuel Sharp. But he ended up with it.
Cryer was the guy to go to too.
Oh, for sure, dude. He kept him in the Duke game. He was I wouldn't say keeping him in this game, but he was the one that was any sort of offense was coming through. Yeah, but Emmanuel Sharp ended up with the ball, and in that situation, and it's so easy to in hindsight, he probably has a million things he would do different. But also us watching as fans, in that moment, we probably would have done the same thing or worse. But I was just thinking he had time. Clayton sold out for the to block that shot.
Yeah.
So if he just gave a pump fake instead of going up with it, he probably gets a pretty clean look.
Yeah.
Another thing is even I would have probably taken the travel over like trying to shield the ball because I lost you again. This is gonna suck. All right, I'm back in a different room. My Wi-Fi has been cutting out, so hopefully this works. But yeah, I'm just gonna
Needs
kind of
an
get back.
upgrade.
Yeah, I need some upgrade. I need internet cable running into the garage or something. But I think I was talking about how sharp just in that moment I would have done something different. But like obviously, I have not played Division One basketball, never will, and in that moment, he probably
Still a chance.
yeah, still a chance. Yeah, no, just in my mind, I was thinking about it the other day. Like honestly, I probably would have taken the travel in that situation because they were down by two, I think. Yeah, because the
Yep.
three would have won it. They were down by two. Um, I would have probably taken the travel and gone for another trap. That it was obviously working. They turned the ball over like a few times in the last like minute to get even a chance at winning that. So yeah, I just would have trust my defense, and at the end of the day, you foul one of their low percentage free throw guys, and maybe they miss one, and then you have a chance to tie it instead of kind of like that chaos that ensued at the end of the game. But obviously, not how it worked out, and Florida ends up winning the national championship.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I guess he could have technically, taken the travel there, but when it's a bang bang, like in the moment, there's no way that you could go back and be
Nah,
like, "Oh, you should have done that" or whatever. So, uh, yeah, I think that Clayton, his box out there was super impressive because I saw that there's a shot that like Sharp was getting into his motion and he was still like behind the 3-point line. So
yeah,
his closeout on that was some insane defense, which I thought
yeah,
was really, really impressive. Like you said, if he would have sold that pump fake and stepped to the side or even stepped like maybe a foot closer to the line, he would have had probably a clean shot. But yeah, it wasn't to be. So Gators get their third title and their first one since they're back to back in 07 and 08, I believe, or oh 06, oh 07, something like that. So big props to them, but we'll see what they're able to put together in the next year, see how many guys they got coming back, and we'll be ready for a little bit more March Madness next year. It's crazy how fast it all kind of came to an end, but it is what it is, huh?
yeah. Super quickly, just appreciate everybody that played in the bracket challenge. I did end up winning. You guys can all call me out for cheating. I did not cheat, but I will say going into this, it was like I was just like, dude, if I win this, no payout, let's go. But I did
Yeah.
end up winning. I had a decent bracket. I actually had Houston and Florida, and then I called Florida winning it, even though I was rooting for Houston when it came down to it. I would have loved to see Kelvin Sampson get his first national championship game. But yeah, I appreciate everybody that joined, and we'll definitely do it next year. I had a few people tell me that we should do more of like a prize pool for like the top three or so, which we'll definitely probably do
More
next.
tiered.
Yeah, definitely do that next year. But this was kind of thrown together super last minute, and I just appreciate everybody that hopped on board, filled out a bracket, and yeah, look forward to it next year.
For sure, for sure. Hop into a little bit professional ball now in the NBA. Had some big games here in the last week or two here. Some bigger news. Obviously, we're about 2 games or so from the NBA playoffs ensuing and everything, and kind of the chaos around the plan and everything. But last night, the Lakers played the Dallas Mavericks for the first time in Dallas since the massive trade that went down, sending Luka to the Lakers in return for Anthony Davis and some other scrubs. Um, but first game back for Luka. Luka scores 45,
45.
31 of which in the first half. I think I texted you right after the first half ended. I was like, boy, he might go for 50 or 60. Only scored 45 only, but
Yeah.
obviously a massive game for him. But obviously there's a lot of a lot of attention on this game just because of what it meant for him. had a tribute video beforehand. There's a lot of videos going around about him crying before the game and everything, being super super emotional. Which I mean, you can't blame me. He thought he was going to be a Mav for life, and when you get
Right.
traded like that, obviously it's gonna cut deep for sure. It was kind of a funny environment because the Dallas fans were cheering every time he would score and
Yeah.
all this, chanting "Fire Nico" multiple times
Oh
throughout the
man.
game.
Oh
It's
man.
funny because a lot of times the announcers will avoid if there's like if they're chanting to fire somebody or like just some obscenities or whatever, the
Right.
announcers will avoid it. But they made the "Fire Nico" stuff so loud that they just couldn't avoid,
No
being
way.
like,
Yeah.
"Oh, look at what they're chanting now." I wonder, like that. It's just super funny.
Yeah.
But Nico Harrison, dude, he such a little scoundrel, bro. He just chills
Yeah.
in like the tunnel, like the whole game. I was like, you pansy, bro. Like
Yeah.
you're such a little weasel trying to hide from everybody, like not even really entering the arena with your security around, like you little. But
Yeah.
anyway, I don't know if you saw any of this game. But obviously it's a big time game in the NBA sphere here. So
Yeah, I mean, not only was it a huge game based on the storyline, Luka going back to Dallas, but like huge game when it comes down to seeding in the
yeah,
West right now, like, must win for the Lakers, like possibility. They're also playing the Rockets tonight. Like I think if they
yeah.
win that game, they could slip into
Rockets are
second.
sitting all their starters, so
Yeah, they could slip into second maybe because that third spot, a lot of people want to be in that third spot. So I don't know, a little bit of a weird situation, but like yeah, everyone's within a game of each other, so huge game nonetheless. But yeah, watching Luca go back and just how emotional he got, dude, he was never leaving. He was never leaving. He didn't want out. He loved it there. So yeah, high emotions. I love to see him go back and win. You always kind of root for that. Dropping 45. JJ Redick said he was hoping he'd get 50. But
yeah,
obviously not meant to be. But maybe this is kind of like Luka putting the trade to bed and kind of
yeah,
getting into playoff mode, and we're gonna see a little bit
yeah,
more of the old Luka coming up here
yeah.
in the next few games.
Yeah, no one rises his game to another level like Luca does for the playoffs. I'm
Yeah,
excited to
man.
see them this year. But yeah, just the last few things about the game. As a Luca fan and following him so closely, it was so funny watching the tribute video and like remembering like those games and those moments like so vividly. I
Mm-hmm.
kind of knew where he was going to break down more than others. Like when they showed like the Western Conference Finals dub and they were
Yeah.
like breaking it down or whatever, like that's when he got super emotional. I was like, dude, like I can understand that because like that would that just little things like that you pick up on when you follow a player so closely is kind
Right.
of cool. But yeah, he went into a little bit after the game and he just said that he never thought he would get traded, and he was so emotional before the game. He said he's like, I didn't know how I was gonna be able to play in the game, but
Right.
obviously his teammates kind of picking him up and everything was good to see. So that trade just blows my mind, bro. The amount of hate that Nico still gets on a daily basis is insane. He probably still walks around with security just on the day to day, but I don't know. I don't want to get into it too much, but just some of the stuff I've been reading the last like few days, like it just I know we talked about it before, but it feels so much like it was intentional to
Yeah.
get him onto the Lakers. But
Yeah.
yeah, we'll leave that for a different day.
Another day.
But yeah, moving on to some other massive
Huge.
news coming out of the NBA. The Denver Nuggets firing Mike Malone after their 4 game losing streak that they had going on. Um, Timing is super questionable on this one. I mean,
Yeah.
10th year in the on the Nuggets for Mike Malone. Obviously brought them a championship 2 years ago, so not even that long ago. Obviously has a good bond with Jokic and Jamal Murray and a lot of the other guys that have been on the team for a long time. So, what do you got to say about the initial reaction here about them firing him? So quickly before before the playoffs start here.
Yeah, like you said, the timing is what makes this all so just crazy. Like, I mean, 2 years ago they win a championship. Are you like obviously still in Jokic's prime? and you fire their head coach. I mean, I know they haven't been playing well, but they're right there in the thick of things for the playoffs. Obviously, have a good team to make a run. My biggest thing is they don't have Jamal Murray. Like, they are a championship team when they have Jamal Murray. Like, obviously, you're going to take a step back without one of your stars playing. But as obviously this is a little like we're taping this a little later after the news dropped. What was it, 2 days ago or so? A lot of things have come out with just like their owner was just like we got to get. He wanted to get rid of Mike Malone and their GM. Their GM and Mike Malone didn't see eye to eye, so there was a lot of internal things going on. I think in the owner's statement, he said that winning covers up a lot of things. And obviously, he hasn't talked to the media yet, the owner. But a lot of people are speculating that that's just showing that he wanted to fire Mike Malone, and he's kind of doing it before they even have a chance to make a deep run. Because like, if they make a deep run, then it's like, oh, you can't fire him now. So now they're firing him before he can do that. But just like the timing is just, I don't know. But just from what I've heard in the different reports, it sounds like there was a lot more going on internally with just who he was playing. He kind of liked to play Russ over some of the younger guys. The GM wanted him to play the younger guy. Like, so there's a lot of turmoil for sure. But it was definitely just, dude, I saw that. I think we sent it to each other at the same time.
I
Like, as
saw
soon as
that.
we saw it, we're just like, dude, what the heck is going on? But dude, absolutely crazy. Like, this season of the NBA in a long time, so many crazy moves. Like, I don't remember a time like this since I've been watching.
Yeah. Yeah, obviously shades of the Taylor Jenkins firing earlier in the year of the Memphis Grizzlies.
Yeah.
Mind blowing there as well. I'm like, what on earth? Like, this guy has done nothing but overperform based on the roster that you've given him, and you fire him. That's crazy.
Mike
Um,
Brown, like really, really early in the season. The
yeah,
Kings.
for the Kings, yeah, yeah, that was a little bit of head scratcher too. Yeah, obviously, like you were saying, I'll just kind of double back off that. The timing is just like something had to have been so bad. Like, obviously, the 4 game losing streak isn't great, but 3 games before the playoffs, bro. Like, what is that gonna do? Like, how does that? Like, I understand maybe trying to get a spark, but I feel like the reward of that is doesn't really make sense in my eyes. Like, maybe you get a little bit of a spark here going to the playoffs, but then you got a guy who's never coached before, like a head coaching position, leading the possible MVP and his team into the playoffs. Like, this doesn't make whole lot of sense to me. And in the first game which they won against the Kings, which is a good win for them. Jokic was in the huddle, like drawing up plays and stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, is Jokic going to be coaching now
Yeah.
too?
Player
So
coach. Oh, my word.
that didn't make a lot of sense to me. But yeah, like you said, rumors were coming out that there was some stress with Mike Malone and the front office, and they were even saying Mike Malone and some of the guys on the team. So I don't know how much that's validated and everything, but there's obviously something going on. We haven't mentioned this so far, but they also let their GM go, Calvin Booth. So
Yeah.
they got rid of him at the same time. A lot of their fans, I think, they thought it was way overdue for the GM to go, but not necessarily Mike Malone. But obviously, kind of a 2-for-1. But I think this automatically makes that position one of the most coveted ones in the entire NBA. Like, with the squad that they got in Denver for next season. But we'll see what they're able to do in the playoffs. Um, I'm hoping they go far, just because I like Jokic and some of the other guys that they have on the team. But
Yeah.
yeah, we'll see. That's definitely out of left field. It'd be interesting to see where Mike Malone goes. Maybe he goes to the Grizzlies. Maybe he
That's
goes somewhere else. I don't
Yeah,
know.
that was
But
my first thought. I was like, dude, just like straight up coach swap almost. Like,
yeah,
Mike Malone definitely will not be without a job come next season for sure.
yeah, definitely. He's a proven winner, I would say. So, yeah, some crazy times in the NBA for sure. Just a little bit of a wrap up here as far as the seeding for the playoffs. East is pretty much done and dusted as far as seeding is concerned. Cavs by far and away the best record, 64 wins. Celtics, actually not by far and away, just 4 games behind. Another 60-win season for the Celtics. They got Knicks, Pacers, Bucks, Pistons. Not too much shuffling probably going to happen there as far as the last 2 games of the season here, tonight and on Sunday. Magic, Hawks, Bulls, and Heat are probably on the play-in. The Bulls, watch out for them, man. They've been second half of the season. their record doesn't look great, but they've been beating some really good teams. They beat my Thunder, they beat the Nuggets. I think they beat the Lakers twice. So I look out for them in the playoff to come out of there, or the play in to come out of there maybe and make some noise. So we'll see what they're able to put together. Maybe catch some lightning in a bottle, and then going over the West, absolute just craziness here in the West. Obviously, my Thunder 14 games above the second seed. So we're securing that number one seed nice and early with 66 wins, possibly getting to 68. We'll see, which is crazy good season.
Yeah,
Rockets, 14 games behind, but still very solid at 52 wins. They actually have the second seed locked up. The Lakers cannot catch them. They're
oh,
3 games
okay,
behind
gotcha.
with only 2 games remaining. But if the Lakers win tonight, they just need to win one of their last 2 games to wrap up the third seed. So they'll probably get that with Houston sitting all of their starters tonight. So, and then you get to the chaos. The four seed through the nine through the eighth seed, I'm sorry, are all separated by less than 1 game. So you have the Nuggets, Clippers, Warriors, and Grizzlies, and the Timberwolves actually, all within a game of each other, all sitting either at 48 and 32 or 47 and 33.
Man.
So a lot of shuffling and a lot of figuring out the seeding there. Like you said, it could turn into a little bit of an interesting playoff bracket if we get some stuff happen that's a little bit surprising. Golden State losing to the Spurs the other night,
Yeah.
that was very surprising, and it could actually come back to bite the Warriors just because they might have to play the Lakers in the first round of the playoffs,
Right.
which would be pretty nuts. Because for a while, a lot of people were like, "Well, you want the 3 seed to get the side of the bracket, that maybe doesn't have quite as good a teams, like with the Timberwolves, maybe the Kings, yada yada." But now I think it might be flipped because the Thunder might get the 1 seed. Um, and then on the other side of the bracket, you'll have the Lakers and Warriors 3 versus 6. And then Denver and the Clippers on that side as well will be on the Thunder side instead. And then you have the Wolves playing the Rockets. So just a lot of shuffling that could go on there, but absolutely just crazy to see all the how tight everything is. But what do you want to see going into the first round? Do you want to see a Lakers Warriors? Obviously, it'd be the marquee matchup here in the first round at least. But what do you have to say about all this shuffling around and what are the matchups you kind of want to see going forward?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see a Warriors Lakers in the first round. Probably more ideally though, save that for like more like a second round kind of series, but nah, that's what I'm looking forward to. I think it's been going around like people asking like who would we rather see make a deep run? Obviously everyone says LeBron cuz like that's just, ESPN and everybody just loves LeBron apparently, but
On
um
ESPN, they do for sure.
yeah, but yeah, it's just wild, man. Like I saw a graphic the other day. I couldn't find it to put it like to bring it up here, but it was literally like obviously the Thunder have the 1 seed and like now the Rockets have the 2 seed, but from there it literally could look just like so many different
Yeah,
ways before we get to the playoffs. Like people play like there could be, the Warriors could end up in the play in, Nuggets could end up in the play in. I think the Clippers have like all the tiebreakers on everybody. If it ends up in a tie, they could slide into like the
yeah, they're a
fourth seed.
sneaky team. Yeah,
Yeah, and they're sneaky good. They've been on a little bit of a winning streak. Kawhi's playing good, so yeah, don't
Harden,
sleep on
Ben
them.
Simmons.
Yeah,
Yeah,
dude, it's a scary team, but yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see. Obviously, Warriors and Lakers are playing tonight. Warriors playing Portland. Can't drop that game. The Spurs game really, really put them behind the 8 ball for sure.
yeah, definitely. Exciting time going to the NBA playoffs. It's always a good time where basically for like a month and a half, 2 months, you just have great game after great game basically every night. So I'm very much looking forward to that. We'll know the playoff seeding and the play in games by Sunday night. That's where everybody plays on the same day and kind of they wrap up the season and everything. Play in games I think are Tuesday, Wednesday, something like that. And then there's a significant break. I think the playoffs won't start till the next Sunday or Monday. So I have a little bit of a break here for them to get everybody healthy and geared up for the season. Maybe we'll come at you guys a little bit of a prediction of each matchup for the playoffs and everything, and maybe even some championship predictions maybe, but we'll see what we'll do with that. But that'll kind of wrap up the basketball portion of the podcast here. Obviously, coming at you with some playoffs and everything, and then a little bit of a recap into the Final Four that we just had and everything. So that'll do it for that. And we'll get into a little bit of football next. Hopping over the pond as we usually do for a little football talk. Starting off in England and the Premier League, we have some games to recap from the weekend. Not too much going on as far as our teams are concerned. We did have the Manchester Derby. Didn't really live up to its pretty hype billing that it was kind of garnered up to be, as it has been in the past. And it has been pretty good derbies as of this season. At least we had that crazy game the last time they played each other. But we'll start out with my Gunners here. Arsenal tying with Everton 1-1. We're just kind of playing out the season, I would say, at this point. Liverpool kind of running away with it at the top, and then in third place Nottingham Forest. Within striking range, but I think we're probably going to hold on to the second. And even if we don't, who cares? Third place. So I was very happy to see that Arteta rested most of our starters for this one. I think except for maybe Declan Rice and maybe a Ben White or something like that. We rested all of our guys, which was good. There's what we should have done the game before that when Gabriel got injured. But whatever, seeing Trossard score was cool. He always comes off the bench and scores for us. So good tie and everything. Everton's trying to avoid the relegation spot, which I think they'll probably do at this point. So solid tie against a team that has more to play for than we do. So it's good to see those guys rested. Moving on to a Fulham loss, actually first time since September that Liverpool lose a game in the league. Just their second loss all season. So very, very impressive record by them all season. But the big news coming out of Liverpool this week is Mo Salah signing another 2-year extension, rejecting the Saudi league. I think he rejected a $500 million contract coming from Saudi to stay at Liverpool.
Dang.
I felt like for a long time, it was kind of I guess just a sure thing that he was going to be moving on this summer, whether it be to Saudi or maybe MLS or maybe some other league for a while. But they got it done. I felt like there was maybe some bad blood there with the front office and everything. But what do you got to say about Mo Salah staying on for another 2 years now? Pretty old up there now.
Yeah, pretty old. I'm not sure how long he can sustain like this run of form that he's having. Like obviously he's in Ballon d'Or talks this season, so you can see why they would
Ridiculous.
would want to re-sign him. Obviously through and through, he's a Liverpool player. That's where he really took off. So I think it's a good signing. It's good for I almost said Klopp. It's Slot, right? Arnie Slot. I almost said Klopp, but yeah, it's good for the new manager to have like that voice in the locker room, obviously, and rejecting that man. He must love Liverpool, and they must think that he'll be able to at least contribute the next 2 years. Like obviously, he doesn't have to do what he's doing this year, but as long as he's serviceable and can help bring up a lot of the academy boys, it's a good signing all around.
Yeah, I agree. Virgil van Dijk, it looks like he'll sign a contract extension with them as well. Obviously, he's had a good season overall, but I really, really don't understand the Ballon d'Or talk. I mean, at the first few games of the season, like people were talking about him being washed, the fact that he shouldn't start, and all this stuff. And now that Liverpool's had a pretty good season and everything, and he's scored a lot of goals, I still feel like a lot of his goals are penalties or just kind of, he's there, in the right place, right time kind of deal, which obviously is impressive. Like that is a component that you need to score a lot of goals and to be a great player. But, I just, wasn't the Salah that we were used to seeing in the past, where he's dribbling past guys, curling in goals from outside the box and things like that. So I'm not really sure. I think it was just a product of Liverpool being in all those competitions really late on. But then at the same time, like we were talking about last week, they turned quadruple talks into just like, oh yeah, it was just the Premier League that we're kind of settling for, if you can even say that settling for, because obviously it's impressive. But I just don't really understand the Ballon d'Or talks. But we'll see. But it's like you said, it's a good signing for them. Obviously, even if he falls off a cliff, I can still see him coming off the bench and being able to contribute in a meaningful way for them. So Moving on to your Chelsea Blues here, tying a looks like I didn't see the game, but looks like a pretty boring 0-0 tie against Brentford here.
Yeah, I didn't watch the game either. Caught a few of the highlights as well, but yeah, man. I mean, I talked about this when we kind of previewed the game last week a little bit. Yeah, just Brentford's that team that's sneaky good, always mid-table. Plays really well against the bigger squads. And I mean, Chelsea, past few years hasn't been really good, but you still turn up when you play Chelsea. So I figured we were in for a bit of a game, and obviously, 0-0 draw. Just we lost our form there. We were title contenders in quotes there for a while. But yeah, never meant to be. It's kind of funny. You were texting me that you didn't even know the team that they were playing in the freaking conference league or whatever the heck they're playing in. And if they don't end up winning that, you were saying that we really just need to figure out
Reevaluate. Yeah.
figure out what the heck we're doing. But yeah, unfortunately, come away with a point, but obviously hoping for more against Brentford. But what can you do? I guess
Hey, I mean,
we're
you're
kind of punting on everything at this. We need the points. We're trying to get into the Champions League, but I don't know. It just feels like the fight's kind of gone.
yeah, which I don't really understand because you're in a prime position right now, sitting in fourth place. First time getting into the Champions League in 2 years, maybe three even.
Yeah.
So I would say it's a lot to play for you boys after a few years of not being in. I can relate to that as an Arsenal guy. Obviously, we went goodness 3 years at least without Champions League football. So it was cool to get back after a little while. Obviously, we got it back the first year when when we almost won the league. So that was a little bit of a different feeling. But
Yeah. I mean, we
um,
literally won it like what 3 years ago? Is it?
21,
Yeah,
yeah, I think
21.
so.
3 years ago, and now we're here. Oh
Yeah.
man, freaking sucks, man.
Hey,
Sucks.
gotta trust the process. Gotta let young boys come
Where
up.
there is no
So
process. I can't trust
yeah.
something that's not there. Jeepers.
We'll see. We'll see.
We'll see.
Ending with the Manchester Derby here. Like I said, or alluded to before, a little bit of a boring game here, 0-0. There was a few different spots where you could see, maybe there's a chance here and there, but really boring game. I was kind of disappointed by it. I feel like it was just two teams that had kind of, like you were saying, the Chelsea boys punting on the season, which I don't really think they should, but looks like they are. This was two teams that I felt like were just absolutely done. Like
Yeah.
they're tired. They want to get to the off season, just kind of like, oh yeah, another game. Especially Manchester United. I mean, they're all the way down in 13th place or whatever they're in, and just kind of playing the rest of their games. Let's get to the off season. Let's figure out if I'm still going to be at the club next year. So yeah, I was hoping for more fight from that. I think I said on the podcast last week that it's your inner city rivals, like, come to play at least for this game, last one of
Yeah.
the season kind of thing. But didn't see much fight from them. And Manchester City, they've obviously struggled hugely this season in general. They're now sitting in sixth place after their tie, which the fifth place actually gets them in the Champions League now, which we'll talk about when we kind of go over the Champions League. But I was like, oh yeah, of course they got to get Man City in there. But now they're sitting in sixth with Newcastle sitting a point above them, and Newcastle have a game in hand. So
Yeah.
that'll be pretty crazy coming up here if Newcastle squeak in there. Newcastle's actually playing Manchester United here in a couple days on Sunday, so
Oof.
pretty spicy stuff. Man United lose on purpose to keep City out of the champs here. Is that on the table or what?
I mean, as a man, I'm not even a Manchester United fan, but I feel like that's definitely something the fans will be calling for. They'll be like, dude, if we can't win, as long as we can help Manchester City lose, like
Yeah,
that's what they want. But yeah, they're
yeah.
definitely just
I
punting
mean,
on the season for sure.
yeah, there's several games to go in the league, so anything can happen. But yeah, I mean, I wonder what percentage of fans would be like, yeah, just lose that game so you keep City out of the Champions League.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, for
but yeah,
sure.
we'll see what how the Champions League spots kind of figure themselves out over the next few weeks, coming towards the end of the Premier League season as well. The title is pretty much wrapped up, like we've alluded to before, but still interesting to see which teams make it into Europe and which ones don't. But moving on to Spain and La Liga, really the only other league that had meaningful games happening and some exciting things to talk about. Real Madrid started off by losing to Valencia 2-1 at the very, very end of the game. They went down early in this game, came back to tie, and then in the last minute of the game, I was watching the game and I was hoping for a Madrid, last second winner, like everybody kind of expects at this point by Madrid, but kind of a sloppy, like they Valencia really only had two or three guys in attack because Madrid had possession and everything. I feel like even Valencia weren't really expecting it, but then they kind of got the ball, one cross in, boom, goal. It's just everybody's like, whoa, what just happened here?
Right.
So um, huge blow to Real Madrid's title chances there. They now go 4 points below Barcelona, but Barcelona blew a chance themselves to really take advantage of the Madrid stumble as well by tying to Real Betis. When Betis was missing two or three of their best players, so they kind of blow a huge chance to go ahead of Real Madrid by 6 points there, and then Atleti put in a pretty good 2-1 dub against Sevilla. Sevilla not having as good of a season as maybe they hoped to, but still a solid team at the end of the day. But what do you got to say about your Barca boys going 4 points clear with 8 games to play here?
Yeah, man, it feels good to be on top of Europe again.
Of
Obviously,
Europe.
yeah, man, we're there. We're there. I
All
got a
right,
ton of
all
hope, and we'll
right.
get into it in the Champions League too, because we had a good outing in the Champions League. Let that be a little preview for you guys. But no, dropping games in the league, you can't be doing that. But like a 4 point cushion, that's good. Real Madrid's really just like, I don't know, man. What is going on with Real Madrid? Like, that's kind of the story coming out of La
Strange.
Liga. Even though Barcelona's good, like everyone's just appalled by how bad Real Madrid is, and everyone, like you and I included, I even said it too. I was like, dude, there's no way signing Mbappe and the signings that they have with Bellingham and Vinicius and Rodrigo, and now they're even going to get Trent Alexander-Arnold. We're like, dude, like they're gonna win the next 6 Champions Leagues in a row and like run La Liga like they have already. And that's not been the case. They're dropping games to weak teams. And again, we're gonna get into the Champions League side of things, but not looking all that great there either. So super
Yeah.
interesting this season in La Liga. And definitely I think they're garnering more attention because I mean the Premier League's just been kind of boring this year. So I'm gonna put it bluntly, just like done and dusted by Liverpool, like just random teams fighting for Champions League spots. There's gonna be an extra one anyways in the Premier League this season. So yeah, just a lot to play for in La Liga and a lot at the top of the table, like going on with Atleti, Real Madrid, and Barcelona.
Yeah, I think Madrid's season's been really weird because they obviously started out a little bit slow, growing pains with Mbappe, and then it felt like there was a good 2 month period where they really found their stride. They were doing good in the Champions League, just wrecking fools in La Liga too. And then basically since the new year, I would say, just dropping points against teams they shouldn't be dropping points to, especially in the league, which has really hurt them. Because at one point they were ahead by 4 or 5 points in the league as well, and it was kind of like, oh, Madrid's going to kick on now; they're going to run away with the league. Dropped a lot of points, not as impressive in the Champions League, at least in the second half of the Champions League stage. They're still qualified, with a pretty comfortable top 8 finish, but just not looking as convincing as maybe you would expect a Madrid to be, just because they have all those good players, they have a good coach, they have seemingly everything they need. So I guess I'm really just confused of where it went wrong because it felt like middle of the season they got it together, but and seemingly without a huge like loss, like they didn't have anybody huge go down with injury or anything like that. So I'm not really sure if it's maybe a coaching malfunction there. Like everybody, as soon as Madrid lose or tie any game, they want the coach out. So there's talks about Carlo Ancelotti kind of moving on after the year, but we'll see. But talking about Real Madrid creates a perfect segue into the Champions
Let's
League and
go.
their matchup with Arsenal. And Arsenal taking it to the boys from Madrid.
Oh, man.
3-0, just compounding the Madrid frustrations from the league, going straight into the Champions League as well. I could talk for an hour about this game, but we'll try to keep it short and sweet here. But Declan Rice scoring two of the best goals you will see anyone score in one single game, maybe even in your lifetime.
Dude.
Absolute worldies for free kicks. He didn't score just one. He scored two free kicks.
Yeah, man.
First one, he curved the thing like probably 6 yards, like to one side, bringing it back around. I mean, everybody was like blaming the wall for like, oh, the walls, they didn't do their job, blah, blah, blah. I was like, he bent that thing so far around the wall, they could have had 6 guys in the wall and they wouldn't have stopped that.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way. Courtois couldn't do anything. There's no way he's stopping that. Absolutely just, I can't even really describe it, and I won't even go into trying to describe what it is. You just have to go watch
Perfection.
it. Second one, even more difficult, I would say. That's the thing. These two free kicks, they were completely different free kicks. Like one of them was a little bit closer to the box on the right side where he bent it to the right and coming back left and scored it on the right side of the goal.
Yeah.
Whereas the second one, a little bit farther out on the left side now. So you got to pick whether you're going to go up and over the wall into the left side of the goal or try to curve it up and to the right. And obviously he chose the latter. I mean, I saw screen grabs of this. You could not fit the ball into a more perfectly 90-degree angle than he fit that thing. I mean, the way that you, like, for those of you who haven't played soccer, like the way that you have to kick this ball for it to go to up and to the right and have it dip back down into that corner, it's so hard to do. And the way that he did it so perfectly was just, I mean, chef's
so
kiss.
Good, man.
So beautiful. And then there was another goal by Marino. But before I go too far into it, what did you think about this game? I don't know how much you watch of the Champions League, because I feel like it's always kind of a, case by case with your work. But what do you guys say about a couple of these goals here at the beginning?
Yeah, I caught one of them, and then I went back and watched the highlights and caught the other one. And dude, like, if you are any sort of a soccer fan, you just appreciate these goals.
You just watch them endlessly.
This is what soccer fans and soccer players live for. Are worldies, just like so beautiful. Like, obviously the first one, just the technique to get that sort of whip, and like what you were saying, it was closer than the second one. And to get that like 6 yards of curve on the ball that close, so impressive. And like, some of you guys might be hearing us and just like, what the heck? Like, he kicked the ball. Like, yeah, we're nerding out a little bit, but the people,
oh my goodness,
like Jared and those people that listen to the podcast for the soccer will know what we're talking about. Yeah. So beautiful. And then the second one, that should be on every YouTube channel.
The first one,
it should be in the dictionary when people look up perfect free kick. That should be there. Like, that is like, if you could put the ball where you wanted it, that's where you put it. Like, it was, and he went to Courtois' side too. And Courtois, he's considered the best in the world right now.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, there's no fault of his on either one of those free kick goals. Even on the third one too.
You're not stopping.
We'll get into in a second, but
not stopping.
Yeah, I mean, just absolutely unstoppable. Like, Declan Rice had not scored a free kick in his entire professional career, and now he just steps up and puts those two in. I don't want to see anybody else kicking free kicks for us.
No, he's got a sky one, like absolutely sky one for you to take him off. And also, like, I know we didn't want to park too much on one spot, but like, dude,
we could park here.
Yeah, but dude, Declan Rice is worth every penny and more that you guys spent on him. Like, there have been so many like £100 million signings that just flop or aren't, like, they don't meet expectations at all. He has exceeded every bit of expectation that you guys, even Arsenal fans included, could have had. Like, dude,
I texted my buddy immediately who's an Arsenal fan. I said, send another 100 million to West Ham right now. Like, I don't even care. Worth it, man. 200 mil, whatever you want. So, yeah, obviously just absolutely just incredible. I can't tell you the amount of time my algorithm knows me better than I know myself, but the amount of times that it's given me that free kick or both of those free kicks from different angles with different music, with different people
And you
talking
have
about the
watched
goal.
every
Oh,
one.
every single one, bro. Multiple times. I'm like, this is just so incredible. I think it besides the fact that these two goals are just so beautiful, the fact that this is like announcing Arsenal as like obviously we've been good for a couple years now, really, really close in the league with a couple times with Man City now, but doing it in the Champions League
Yeah.
against Real Madrid on home soil, like everybody's talking about this being the greatest night in Emirates Stadium history because it's only been around since 2006, outside of maybe us beating Real Madrid at our home stadium in 2006. But I was 7 years old in 2006, and so
Yeah.
when so and even then we barely won. So like this kind of masterclass against Real Madrid, the greatest night in recent Arsenal memory in Emirates Stadium history. Absolutely, just an insane game to watch. The third goal, which we haven't even mentioned, pretty nice little Mikel Marino, who's our makeshift striker since we literally don't have one
Yeah.
right now. Nice little curler from inside the 18. Nice little pass from Lewis Skelly, who a year ago was playing for our academy team. So very impressive goal there. And again, Courtois, nothing you can do.
No.
Best goalkeeper in the world, or one of, in my opinion, maybe up there with Allison. No faults of his on any of these goals. So I guess we'll get into the kind of the second half here, but like what's going on with Madrid? We've kind of touched on that a little bit already, but the makeshift defense we had against them too. Like we
Yeah.
have Jakub Kivior playing at center back now with Saliba and going up against Mbappe and Vinicius and
Mhm.
Jude Bellingham and all these boys. They can't get a sniff of goal, bro. Like 3-0, just a little,
Yeah.
and obviously this is breaks my heart a little bit because of the closet Madrid fan, or the Madrid fan that I am. But obviously Arsenal is my first love and everything. But what do you got to say about them not being able to break down this, like I said, makeshift defense that we got going on?
Yeah, and yeah, we kind of alluded to it before, but I feel like PSG and Real Madrid have switched spots. Like before, it was PSG just throwing money at all these big signings, this, that, and the other, and like Real Madrid would get big signings, but it was because of their name, and they would get people that wanted to play for Real Madrid. But like I said, I feel like they flipped. Like now PSG, they have good young talent, but the collective is stronger than the individual pieces. Where I feel like Real Madrid, like you throw Mbappe in there, it's like, well, we got to play him, but we're playing him out of position because we can't move around what we have, and it's just causing all these problems within their team. And but kind of the curious thing, like you said, was that 2 month stretch where it was like, oh man, they're rolling. This is where Real Madrid comes into their own. Like they're gonna start taking over now. And it just hasn't quite happened. And I don't really have the answers, not like I'm supposed to or know a whole lot more than Ancelotti does, but it's just like something's not going right. Something's not it's just not clicking right now.
Yeah. I think something has to give at Madrid. If they I mean, again, comeback kings, obviously, but this is going to be a tall task for them. I think we at least score one probably in the second leg, and none of their other comebacks, I don't think, were from 3-0 down where they had to score four. I know that they've
Right.
had to score three, but four is a tall, tall task.
Yeah.
And they would have to beat us 4-0, which is,
Hmm.
again, a tall task. But barring a crazy comeback, like I said, something has to give this summer. Um, I'm not really sure what they do with their front three because, like, when Mbappe came, I was like, I know it sounds blasphemous as a Madrid fan, but like, I would have almost looked at selling Vinny. You could
Hmm.
get a king's ransom for him. You
Mm.
would move off him. He comes with a lot of drama, a lot of
Yeah.
whatever. Amazing player, but like, I would put my money on Mbappe over him. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
like I just would. So I would maybe possibly Rodrigo on the move. But again, he doesn't play Mbappe's position, so does that
Right.
really solve your problem? So I'm not really sure what's going to go on there, but it'll be interesting to see how they'll probably just sack their coach again and try to get somebody else in there like they usually do.
Just
But
brings it on
um,
back in. Just bring him
bro,
back.
if anybody could fix it, he probably could. So
Yeah, it's true.
um, we'll see. But yeah, that's. I know it's been a little bit of time on that one, but that was one of the more incredible
sure.
games I've watched in recent years, maybe in my whole entire soccer career lifetime. So, but yeah, we'll see what they're able to do in the return leg. That'll definitely be uh, a spicy one. I think. I think Madrid puts up a good fight, but I hope they don't put up too much of a fight because I still want to win. So, moving on to Barcelona here.
Hey, yo,
This is
let's
another
go.
one that kind of got out of hand, but this was a lot more expected than the first one was, I would say.
Yeah.
4-0 winners, Barcelona, kind of putting 3 goals on them in the second half. I saw the 1-0. I was like, okay, Dortmund, like, let's see what you got, and then it was 2, and then it was 3, and then 90th minute was 4. I was like, oh my goodness, there's no chance
Done.
they're gonna come back now. So, but like you said a little bit earlier, really strong showing from Barcelona. I would say this is one of the weaker teams they could have gotten drawn with in the quarterfinal stage outside of maybe Aston Villa, but obviously taking care of business for sure. And but just looking at that Dortmund team, I know you alluded to this last week, but um, just looking at the lineup, I'm like, who do they have that's
Right.
just that you can rely on to get you to the next to go up against a Barcelona, but not just one player, but like you need more guys than just one. They don't even have one. So,
Yeah.
but obviously your Barca boys getting it done here.
Yes, sir, dude. And like I said at kind of the beginning of the soccer portion of this podcast, dude, it's such a good feeling. Like Barca has not been good for a while. They were kind of like in the same situation as Chelsea, in a different way. Like just their finances were in shambles, still in shambles. I'm not even going to try to pretend it's not, but I think the only thing we could hang our hats on the past few years was I think Xavi won us a La Liga title,
Yeah.
randomly in there in his first
Super
season.
weird.
Yeah, just like out of the blue, definitely new manager bump for sure. But no, Hansi Flick's just got us playing like really good ball right now. We're super organized, good in the back.
Freaking called that, bro. I said
Yeah,
that
you
before
did.
before
Yeah.
he was even employed there. I said Flick was good.
I think I remember even the text that you sent where you like when they hired him, you were just like, dude, this is huge. Like, yeah, maybe not this good this fast, but like you were just like, they're gonna be good. Like
Yeah.
he's a coach that like goes a long way having. But no, dude, it's so refreshing seeing Barca. Maybe said it like a little, hyperbolically, but they are one of the best teams in Europe right now. Maybe not at
Yeah.
the top, but they definitely are one
As
of the
far
best
as
teams.
form, yeah,
Oh yeah.
absolutely.
And they're definitely one of the favorites to win the Champions League, and I don't think that's been the case in a I think since Messi's been there. We haven't been favorites for anything. And quickly, I guess I want to get your thoughts too on this, but I know we give flack to ESPN FC, and I still don't like them. I'll listen to them
Can't
here and
stand
there
them.
just because it's like the only there's not a lot of soccer podcaster
No, yeah,
stuff
right.
anywhere. It's kind of why we started this. But anyways, Craig Burley on there, who's always bashing everybody. He's so hard to please, but
He likes Messi, and that's about it.
he said something the other day that really surprised me. He said Lamine Yamal, in his opinion, is the best player in the world right now. And I was just like, that takes a lot for him to say something like that
Yeah.
about a 17-year-old. But I don't know if I fully agree with him, but Lamine
I don't.
Yamal is playing
Come on.
out of his mind. So I guess you're kind of already saying your opinion, but yeah, like what do you think of Lamine Yamal at this point?
I mean, he's having a good few games, a good month or two. I give him that, but I think I agree it takes a lot for a guy like him to say that, but I think that also shows that just the overreaction of everything. Like he scores in one game in the
Yeah.
quarterfinals of the Champions League and he's the best player in the world right now. Like I don't really get that. When like a month ago we were talking about Yamal hasn't scored in the league for
Yeah.
12 straight games. Like what's going on? Musiala, obviously the best youngster in the world right now.
Right.
Yamal's missing a penalty. Is he really all that? Blah blah blah. And this isn't coming
Right.
from Madrid like Barca haters. This is coming from Barca fans themselves. So
Right.
I this where we're at now as like a soccer media, like I think around the world, like the pendulum swings. One game, you're the best player in the world, Ballon d'Or, just worship him. He's the next Messi. Next game he puts together, like if he's in the semis and puts together a bad game against a Bayern,
Right.
we're just going to be
Gonna
tearing it
bury
down
him.
again. So yeah, it's just so crazy to me all that. But I do agree with what you're saying. Barcelona obviously in massive form right now. We'll see if they're able to put together, if they're able to finish the job kind of deal, and able to at least get to the end in La Liga, maybe not quite in the Champions League, because I feel like even in the Champions League they haven't had that like marquee like we're here moment. Like yes, they're beating
Right.
Dortmund 4-0, but looking across the other 7 teams in the last 8 here, who are we realistically not expecting to beat Dortmund by a
Right.
considerable margin here?
Exactly.
So,
And a lot of people
um,
were saying that. They were saying like if you were able to draw for yourself a team out of these last 8, it'd be Dortmund.
yeah,
You'd want to play Dortmund. So
over Aston Villa, which is funny to me,
yeah.
but yeah, so like you said, it's cool to see Barcelona back on top. I'd say they definitely are one of the favorites, but definitely a huge test if they looks like they will get through. But whoever they get in the semifinals is going to be, the real precursor here to being like, yeah, we're back. If they get to a final, that'd be crazy. But even if they lost in the semis, if they lost to Bayern like 4-3 on aggregate, like that would definitely cement their place that they were back. Because even like you said, when they won that league with Xavi, like, yeah, they won the league, but like you could tell it was kind of a fluke, and they,
Yeah.
kind of sputtered out of the Champions League rather disappointingly. And you didn't feel like they still have massive debt and like all
Right.
that stuff. But
Yeah,
if they could
was
put
it
together a good campaign here,
yeah,
we'll see.
wasn't that the year like Real Madrid was doing poorly, like super poorly in the league and
Yeah.
they surprisingly won the Champions League. Well, like
Yeah.
surprisingly, like,
Right.
it's not a surprise when they win it, but like everyone was like, dude, they're like terrible in their league, but then they're just crushing it in the Champions League. And
Yeah.
so yeah, that was a bit of a weird one for
Weird year.
Barca.
But yeah, we'll see. What they're able to do going forward. Moving on, a little Inter Bayern here. We won't spend as much time on this one as we did the previous 2 matchups, but Inter getting an unexpected dub here, maybe a little bit undeservingly in my humble opinion. You know, they were pretty much dominated by not dom I wouldn't say dominated by Bayern, but Bayern had a lot of chances. Kane missing at least 4 or 5, like just clear cut. Like Harry Kane puts that away. That's probably that Tottenham coming out of him a little bit here in the Champions League. But I thought the Martinez and the Calhanoglu connection it was on in this one. I mean, there were multiple counterattacks where Calhanoglu would kind of just play him in. There's a couple offsides there for Martinez, but just showing that he's getting in behind on a pretty consistent basis here. But like I said, Bayern had a lot of the ball, had plenty of chances, but ultimately not able to put them away when it counts. I'm not sure how much you have to say on this one, but what do you got to say about Inter kind of coming out on top here over Bayern? Relatively surprisingly, I would say.
Yeah, a bit surprising. Inter's good. I don't have a whole lot to say. They're kind of making their way through a weaker Serie A. They've
Yep.
been really good in the Champions League the last few years, which they're one of the more consistent big teams in Europe for sure. I saw the Martinez goal. That was, I mean, that is taken really well. Like super odd way of doing it. I think he could have taken it with his left foot. Chose to go with the outside of his right foot, kind of across his body, put it the other side of the goal. So really good finish. Yeah, this is kind of one of those ties that's like a pick me. Like I could see Bayern moving through, like by a goal, but I could see Inter moving through by a goal as well. It's kind of like who's ever going to obviously play the best out of 2 legs. But I think some of the other ones, the Real Madrid one's a bit of a surprise. Everyone thought that would be a little closer than it was, but like the rest of them kind of just like you know who's going to move on through those ties. But yeah, props to
Yeah.
Inter for finding a way to go up going into the second leg.
Yeah. One of the things that I thought was a little bit interesting is that they had Rafael Guerrero playing as a cam, which
Mm,
was really weird. I'm sure he was given freedom to kind of be outside a little bit more, but he is definitely a winger slash left
mm,
back like never plays on the inside. So the fact that they started him at that center attacking mid position was really strange in my mind. I think that ended up hurting them because when
yeah,
he would go outside, I felt like the 2 other middies that they were playing with Goretzka and Kimmich are more defensive minded players.
right.
Even though Kimmich, he can play wherever he wants, he's still
He's good.
going to be great, but
Uh huh.
a little bit more on the defensive side for sure. So I think the lack of a creative 8 there in the middle of the field kind of came back to hurt them a little bit. But I do think that they are gonna. I think my prediction is that they'll probably come back and win that second leg and go through. Inter a little bit, obviously top of Serie A, but a little bit of a weaker Serie A this year, in my opinion. But I do see Bayern going through and kind of just making it up and being able to kind of kick on and get through. The final this year is actually at the Allianz Arena in Munich, so they'll be playing at home if they somehow get to the final. But
Yeah.
got to get through Inter first, so we'll see what that second leg entails there. And then the last um, Elite Eight, I guess, matchup that you can talk about here is PSG Aston Villa. We were on the pod here last week saying, "Oh, PSG might run away with it. You know, it might be pretty comfortable win." Scoreline does say that it was a comfortable win, but Aston Villa actually opening the scoreline first. And if you look at the stats across the board, it was complete dominance by PSG. 29-7 on shots, 77 possession, and a 94% pass accuracy for PSG. So a lot of times when you have all of the possession as well, your pass accuracy might go down just a little bit just because you have so many passes, but they were spot on as well. So PSG putting 3 on Aston Villa after going down what was pretty impressive in my mind for a young team that obviously coming off that huge high of um, beating Liverpool in the last tie. They had a lot to prove to make sure that they're keeping their momentum up and everything. But what do you got to say about PSG kind of just grinding through the gears here?
Yeah, they flipped a switch. They were scraping by to even get into the next round. I know in I guess the league table phase, I guess it is now. They were one of the last teams to make it through right above that cut line. And everyone was like, man, PSG, same old PSG, might go out and not quite the group stages, but the table phase, I guess you would say. But after that, and then winning, beating Liverpool, I think it just infused them with so much confidence that a lot of these young players are like, okay, we can do this. Like, let's just trust the process. Let's trust the coach. Let's trust the tactics, and just play for each other. And I think they're doing that more, and they're more of a team. But they have the talent to be able to on whose ever day it is, like just take over a game. So yeah, I expected them to get past Aston Villa, like you said. The scoreline might make it look like that, but Villa's they're not gonna go away. Unai Emery, like he knows how to play in these tournaments. So still a scary team. Got to put them away early, second leg. But yeah, super impressive by PSG, honestly.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. The response that they had, not just obviously in this tie as a whole, but going down 1-0 as well. Obviously, they're the better team, not just on paper, but they'll know that they're the better team as well. Kind of, expected to go through, but great response by them. I think the biggest place it was most obvious was just in the midfield again. I've waxed rhapsodic about how Neves and Vitinha in the midfield just running circles around everybody, just in control. The partnership that they have is really special. I think I can see them, and they're both Portuguese too, so it'll be interesting to see what they do for the national team as well.
Mhm.
But compared to Aston Villa's midfield, where a little bit of an inexperience with Kamara there, and then Tielemans as well. He used to be a pretty good player back in the day, but I feel like he's getting just a little bit over the hill now.
Yeah.
So not able to really feed those guys, the wingers and the strikers up top. I think really came back to hurt him because they obviously have Rashford now, who's pretty dynamic. Jacob Ramsey on the wing, and then Asensio coming off the bench as well. I was a little bit surprised at that. I thought he'd start on the right wing for them for sure. So
Mhm.
not being able to get the ball out and into those attacking positions for them um, was always going to be tough. And when you can't get the ball back from those guys from PSG, it's going to make it tough on the whole squad. So
Right.
um, Varaskelia was very very impressive to me as well on the wing as well. He's a really really good player. I can see him
Mhm.
being really good for a long time. Playing um, in a weak league, obviously, but maybe with the lowered standards of the Ballon d'Or, I could maybe see him making some noise there. So,
Yeah, really quickly,
um,
who you got winning the Ballon d'Or this year? I have
dude,
no
I have
idea.
no idea. I don't even know who's favorited to be honest. Like
Yeah, me either.
it's just you keep mentioning Salah, and I have seen some mentions of him. I'm also seeing Rafinha, but I'm like, I
yeah.
mean,
Well, have
but then
you?
I'm also thinking like, who else? Like
Yeah, yeah,
Jude, like Holland's taking a step back. Vinicius isn't winning
yeah.
it. Like it's just, I don't know.
Yeah, but like, have you seen all the memes where it's like they'll show like a Vinny stat line and it's like that was like half a season for Ronaldo?
It's
Like,
like 20 goals, 10
yeah,
assists. I'm
and
like,
that and that's the thing. Like, I think we've just been so spoiled over the years with like Messi. We're never gonna see that again. We're never, especially in our lifetime. And so it's just like
it's just
now
so crazy that they both played at the same
at the
time.
same
And
time, man.
I do think that, like, this might be a hot take, maybe not, I don't know. But I don't think their numbers would be as just out of this world as they would have been if they didn't play in each other's era, because they were always like
Right.
challenging each other. Like
Yeah.
Ronaldo said this on an interview. It's like, I mean, no matter what was happening, like no matter if Messi had a bad game or a good game, it always pushed him. Obviously,
Mhm.
Ronaldo's next level competitor. He's up there with Michael Jordan, I think, mentally.
Right.
But um, I don't think you would have seen 60 goals by both of them in the same season.
Yeah, no.
Crazy stuff like that without them both pushing each other and playing the same era. So
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And the two players that we kind of hoisted up there as like taking the reins from them, in Holland and Mbappe, like I don't know, Mbappe's not doing that great. Holland's kind of faded into the background, like,
yeah,
you
Holland
know,
needs service. That's the difference between him and Mbappe. Like he's not scoring all those goals without some
yeah.
a world class midi. So
Yeah, but I just wanted to get your opinion on that because like I don't have an opinion on it.
I really
Like
have no
I
idea, to
don't know
be
who you'd give
honest.
it to. Like you could go by stats, but then it's just like, well, is their team really doing that good? Like I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. So, like, do you give it to just the best player? Like, that's the thing. They always. Another thing is, I don't really even give that much credence to the Ballon d'Or anymore, just because of all the sketchy stuff that's gone on around it the last few years, and then just
Yeah.
rewarding people for not really, in my opinion, like deserving it all that much. And it's just it's kind of an award that's, I think, lost a little bit of credibility. um, but as far as the odds that I'm seeing here, it looks like, yeah, the players that you had mentioned a little bit earlier, it's just Mo Salah, Rafinha, Mbappe is actually at
Still
third
up
there.
there.
So
That's crazy.
I don't know, he's not winning, but Lamine Yamal is like, dude, if we gave it to Lamine Yamal again, great
You're
player,
you're
but
never like caring about the Ballon d'Or ever again.
bro, like he literally the first up until like 2 months ago, a month and a half maybe, like, you didn't hear a peep from him. Like, we're gonna give
Yeah.
him the Ballon d'Or.
Yeah.
Ousmane Dembele is fifth, which is crazy. Striker for PSG. That'd be nuts if
He's
he was in
playing
there.
good,
So
but like I said,
I don't know.
we've just been spoiled. But I didn't want to sidetrack because I just wanted to get your opinion because I just have no
Yeah,
idea.
yeah, but that's a little bit of a rundown of the Champions League here. We're gonna wrap it up with a little Masters talk.
Yes.
I don't know how you want to really approach this one too much. We're not huge. We don't watch like every PGA Tour event that there is, but obviously we pay a little bit more attention when the Masters come around. So, what are, I guess, some of your favorite golfers? What are some of your favorite moments of the Masters, or just watching this weekend, or anything else you'd like to share? Really?
Yeah, first I'd like to say we weren't going to focus too much on golf till one of our listeners, Jathan, kind of brought up like, "Hey, you guys should talk about golf because like I really like that." And one of the reasons we started this podcast also was like obviously we call it From the Stands because like, we're both never played professional sports at all. So we're just two fans that like to talk about it, but we wanted to create a space where people could like kind of like tell us like, hey, we want to hear about this. And so like we would talk about that. And that's what's kind of cool about like the little following that we have right now that we're able to do that. Obviously, if it blew up, like we wouldn't be able to do that for everybody. But right now, since we are small, like we can. So we're going to talk a little bit more golf and it gives us something to talk about during the summer too when we hit this lull. But, it's the Masters to quote Nance, it's tradition like any like how's he say it? Like any other? It's a
Mm-hmm.
tradition like any other.
Like no
Yeah.
other.
Like no other. That's it. I'm butchering this. Sorry about that. But
Not a golf fan.
yeah, not
Just
a
kidding.
golf fan. And that will be a disclaimer. If we get something wrong, like we admit that we don't watch a lot of golf. Like I watch more YouTube golf than I actually watch real golf. But like
That's a crazy new thing that I really don't understand.
YouTube
But
golf, I know, dude. It
yeah.
like blew up because of COVID, because everyone started playing golf, and then obviously YouTube. Like that's when we should have started the podcast. Is COVID,
Mm.
man.
Yeah, for
But
real.
anyways, I digress. You asked me what my favorite golfers are. These are probably going to be a bit like, oh yeah, you like them because of this. Like yes, because I don't watch golf, but um, I like watching Scotty Scheffler. I believe he's a believer, which is super cool. He has a media moment where he was talking about, like, I think it was like right before, like last year when he won the Masters, he was talking about, even if I didn't win the Masters, that's not my identity. My identity is tied into Christ, and that's
Yeah.
all I need, which is like
And
super dope.
and not just that, but like he's a huge family man. Like I
Yeah,
remember he was making headlines because I can't remember exactly the quote, but he was comparing like winning a championship or whatever to his family or something like that. It's like, well, obviously my family comes first. Like I don't even care about,
yeah,
if it was between golf. I can't remember exactly what he said, but he
it,
like very obviously made his family like the first thing. Everybody's like, whoa, like
yeah,
what? Like everybody's kind of like shook. I was like, why are we shook about that?
yeah,
Like this,
exactly.
this
I
shit's
actually,
goofy,
I
but
think it's actually tied into what I just like
it might have
the
been,
Masters
yeah.
last year, because I think his wife was pregnant and she was like due
Yes,
during the
that's what it
Masters,
was.
and he said
It
he
wasn't even a question.
yeah,
Yeah.
it wasn't even a question. He's like, even if I'm leading and my wife goes into labor, I'm
Yep.
leaving. And he's just like, he was like, I find it absolutely wild that people are just like, well, you wouldn't stay to win. Like, no, my wife's
Yeah.
having our first kid. Like, yeah, just
Which I
kind of,
think is even more impressive because like a lot of guys you see like you're in NBA finals or whatever, like you play the game and you rush to the hospital. But the fact
yeah.
that he was just like, yeah, I'm dropping everything,
Oh, yeah,
really shook some
absolutely.
people.
Yeah, for sure. Kind of shows you a little bit how our world's backwards these days,
Yeah.
but won't get into that. But yeah, definitely Scotty's up there. I like Bryson DeChambeau. I know that's a bit polarizing because like for a while there he was hated, and
Yeah.
a lot of people still hate him now because
The live
he's
golf.
on the Live Golf Tour right now, and there's some controversy going around. DeChambeau's actually second on the leaderboard at the Masters right now, and there's zero coverage of him. And a lot of people are saying that's because PGA doesn't like the Live guys, and so they're not going to really cover them. And a lot of the featured groups are going to be PGA guys.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, I really like DeChambeau. I follow McElroy. Again, these bigger names. I like. I'm gonna butcher this name. Morikawa, I think
Yeah,
Morikawa.
Morikawa. Yep.
Yeah, I
I
like
follow
him.
Morikawa.
Obviously, I know Tommy Fleetwood because just the name, like I see him all over. But then there's some like older guys. Like I remember watching when my dad was like around, like Bubba Watson
Yeah, dude. I
and
remember watching him too
and
back in the
Mickelson and
day.
stuff like that. But those are just some of the guys that
Oh, Phil.
I watch. But like I don't know about you, like kind of your connection to golf. Like I just remember
Yeah.
my dad would have it on all the time growing up, but never quite
Yeah,
got into it.
we didn't have it on a ton, but kind of when I was growing up, I would watch YouTube videos about like just at least Tiger, some of his biggest moments and just kind of figuring out what the biggest tournaments are and stuff like that. And at least knowing the rules and kind of how it's all laid out and everything. I didn't really follow it too much up until the last probably 2 or 3 years. I at least casually like knew what was going on. It's a pretty good vibe in the summer when like on a Sunday afternoon you just have like golf on like on a
Yeah.
low volume. You just take a nap on the couch.
Yeah.
But I definitely like when I first started, kind of knowing what was going on. I liked Ricky Fowler a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's
Ricky.
kind of been known to just he had that one year where he came in second like at every major,
Uh
and it
huh.
just had some injuries and stuff. But that's the kind of the golfer that I followed for a while and just kind of like oh he's playing or whatever.
Yeah.
Obviously Scotty Scheffler, he's kind of I guess you consider my to be my favorite golfer right now. It's a little bit of like a chalky thing, but kind of similar to what you were saying earlier. Solid guy. I feel like he has a super smooth swing. Like obviously
Oh,
you're a
so
pro,
smooth.
you're
Yeah.
gonna have a smooth swing, but like especially him, like it's fun to watch him. Um, and yeah, that's really all the golfers I like Victor Hovland. I remember him a
Yeah.
couple years ago, and he kind of burst onto the scene. I do like him a lot. But I kind of got into golf a little bit more than I used to when the whole live thing went down. I feel like that garnered a lot of eyes onto the golf, like out of nowhere, just because of all the Saudi
Right.
stuff, because it was happening kind of at the same time as the soccer and everything. So that's kind of when I got back into it, I guess you could say. But what I like about the Masters the most too is just I love like the tradition of it and
Yes.
everything. Like the fact that they don't change anything. I love that. Like everything, like it's very similar. And I know you probably don't follow this at all, but in tennis, there's the Wimbledon championships. Very, very similar. Like steeped in tradition. They only wear white. They're not allowed to wear any other color while
Right.
they're playing. There's countless traditions. Same thing with the Masters. Just like everything that it's about, like it just oozes tradition and like the old way of doing things, from like not changing the prices on the food to not having cell phones around, having like you have to apply for these tickets like years and years in advance, and you're on like this wait list. And yeah, it's just special beyond the fact that the course is the most beautiful course like you'll
Oh,
ever see in
perfect.
your life. So I just love all that stuff. So the Masters is obviously the peak of the golf season, obviously for a reason. But yeah, so I guess we'll talk a little bit more about who do you who do you got winning. I guess I'm not I can't
Yeah.
really, speak from a position of knowing like,
Right.
oh yeah, Bryson's got a great whatever in the second weekend or whatever. But
Yeah, I don't follow during
or
like the season or whatever they call it.
yeah,
Like, I was listening to a bunch of different podcasts like leading up to this because I knew we'd talk about it. So a lot of this is probably just plagiarized information, but
yeah,
I will go with like one of my picks because I like him and he's obviously doing well. And I had him kind of picked before this, so people will probably be like, "Oh, well, he's up there." But DeChambeau, I was like hoping that he'd win. I think he's been playing like really well. He's
a
been a top,
second.
like he doesn't get again like the attention because he's on the live tour and like everyone's like, oh, you don't play against the best because you're not on the PJ. But if you're playing good golf, you're playing good golf. And he's second right now to Rose. Sam and I both agree we don't think Rose is going to hold that. He went one under on the day. He got most of his strokes yesterday.
Holding on for dear life for that number one spot.
Yeah, hold on for dear life. McElroy kind of imploded yesterday, and
Yeah,
then he came back with
really strong today.
he's 6 under on the day today for tied for third today. So, but
I'm
I
I'm a I'm a
good.
little bit of a Rory hater, just because I feel like he gets way too much hype. Like he had
Yeah,
couple good seasons like when I was like 13 years old, and ever since then he's just like, oh yeah, Rory. It was like, yeah, okay, like he never wins a tournament
yeah.
ever.
A
But
lot of pressure on Rory for sure.
yeah,
Well, one because of that stigma, but two,
only
this
major he's never won.
yeah, this will complete his grand slam if he can find a way to win it, and he's tried several times. Obviously, can't do it. But yeah, that's who I got. That's who I hope wins it. And we'll see coming up the next couple of days.
Yeah, solid. I do have Scheffler, maybe not winning, but I think he'll definitely challenge being that top three. Obviously, the Masters is kind of his bread and butter.
Yeah.
Hasn't had the best season so far, at least from what I've been watching, but he's won the Masters 2 out of the last 3 years. So always plays well going into the weekend and everything here at the Masters. Obviously, he's a contender. I think Bryson obviously has to be mentioned as well. He's playing really, really uh, good golf. A lot of the guys at my work have him winning, so we'll see what he's able to put together going into the weekend. I didn't think Rory would even be on the board at this point after
Yeah,
the
dude,
first day. Like he was like even after the first day or something like that, way down
it
there.
was
So
bad.
he had, I think, the best day out of anyone on the course here today. So we'll see if he's able to put together something. I'm always here for the Rory drama at the Masters because I was the only one he hasn't won. So those are some of the guys that I could see maybe going up there and challenging. Unfortunately for Rose, I don't really see him hanging on.
I
He may
don't see
be
it either,
in the
man.
top five after tomorrow, still with a chance, but I think those other guys are going to be too good, unfortunately for him.
Yeah. Yeah, and kind of to round off this section of the podcast and the podcast as a whole, I just want to talk about like a super, I don't even know if you'd call it funny, just weird. But did you see that amateur that was in Scotty's group, Jose Luis Ballester, I guess his name. He's
Ballester. I
he's a
did hear about that.
senior at Arizona State. But did you see that he's getting a lot of flack? And probably rightfully so, because like kind of alluding to the tradition that surrounds Augusta. He took a whiz in the
I
river
did see that.
right next to the
Yes.
course. And dude, I put this on I think I posted this somewhere today, but I literally posted he's about to end up on every Barstool podcast known to man,
Yeah.
like
Oh,
because
for
of that.
sure,
Obviously he
dude.
didn't make the cut. He's at 10 over, and I was, it wasn't expected. He got drawn into it. I don't know how do they do the groups? Do you even know that?
I don't know.
Okay, well, he ended up in a group with Justin Thomas and Scotty Scheffler, so that could be nerve-wracking as well.
I always thought it was just a random draw, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I don't know either. Obviously, we'll do a little more research, and we'll, as the podcasts come, we'll know a little bit more in the coming weeks. But
last thing though, I did see that there was a guy, I think his name was Dunlap, but he shot like a 92
he
on the
did
course in the
so
first
bad.
day.
And that was one
I
of the
was
memes
like, bro.
yeah, that was one of the memes I saw. It was like Scotty's second on the leaderboard, but yet they're showing me freaking Dunlap shooting 90 on the day. It's just like
All the comments were like, one of us.
Yeah,
one of us.
And I think that's what's so appealing about golf is
so
like,
funny,
dude,
bro.
like, yeah, the top of the leaderboard, you're like, yeah, I could never do that. But you look down on some of the leaderboard, you're like, I could maybe hang in there at the Masters. Just put me in the field, and I could shoot a 90 on the day. Like, but
never know. Just get lucky.
You never know. But yeah, we'll definitely be keeping a close eye on the leaderboard this weekend and rooting for our favorites for sure, as I'm sure everyone else will. But yeah, we'll bring you some more golf as the season continues and we get into the summer and the rest of the sports world kind of dies down. But I think that's a pod, Sammy.
That is a pod.
That is a pod. We appreciate you guys listening. Thank you for staying with us through the technical difficulties. I definitely got to figure out my Wi-Fi on this end. But again, we appreciate you guys. Hope you guys will check us out on all our platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and YouTube. Like, follow, and subscribe. And we will catch you guys on the next one. Peace.